All right, what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another episode of Just Ballin'. And today I want to talk about, in my opinion, 10 underrated players in the NBA. I don't know if you're going to agree with these, but I think when you look at what the word underrated means, either maybe they're not talked about enough, maybe they're just overhated, or people think that they're in a tier way below than really what they should be. That's what we're going to have here. So, yeah, today I have 10 guys. I'm just going to pull up their basketball reference page just to have like an overall background about them, but I'll talk about some of their stats. I'll talk about what I like about their games and how important I think they are on a night-to-night basis. If you think any of these guys are not underrated, you can let me know down below. Some of these guys are going to be in small markets, big markets. We have one like really good player here. We have a couple all-stars. Maybe some guys that could be all-stars one day. And if there's somebody that you think is like super underrated that deserves more credit, let me know down below. Now, people can say underrated is like, I don't know, somebody that's going to win most improved this year. I think people are in conversations for some reasons and not. And I'll give like a breakdown why I think they could be underrated as well. Not just to say like, here's 10 guys that are good that maybe are all in small markets, right? So the first guy you can already see on your screen if you're following along on the YouTube version, but also shout out to everybody on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Really appreciate you trying to help the podcast grow over there. Link to that is in the YouTube description if you're watching on YouTube. Jose Alvarado of the New Orleans Pelicans. This year has been an absolute mess for the Pelicans for a bunch of reasons. So they trade away Brandon Ingram. Everybody's been hurt. Zion Williamson hasn't really shown that he could be your franchise guy on a consistent basis. But when Zion is out there, man, he's still one of the more dominant players in the NBA. But somebody that has missed some time this year in Jose Alvarado due to injuries, but he's healthy now, that I just think like cares and just gives 110%, that wants to be out there, that isn't going to take any nights off, and that could also just change the game in just a couple minutes, because he can bring the tempo, bring the energy on both ends of the floor. He can run it in transition, he can play fast, and he can really still be a good point of attack defender. And he's 6 feet, right? He's 6 feet. He's one of the best players on the Puerto Rico team last Olympics in the summer. And I just enjoy watching Jose Alvarado play a ton. And I think also maybe the contract could play into the underrated part of it. But he's making $1.9 million this year, $4.5 million in 2026. And if he plays like this, $4.5 million player option in 2027, I can't see him going back on that, and he can opt out, get more guaranteed money in free agency. He signed a two-way contract back in 2021 because he was undrafted coming out of college at Georgia Tech. Not that many good Georgia Tech players in the NBA anymore. Shout out Chris Bosh. But Alvarado this year, it's not really a surprise that he's putting up career highs because he's playing 23 minutes a night, which is a career high. He's starting 11 games, which is a career high. And he is taking the most shots per game at 8.2 compared to like what he did in 2023. He's averaging around 10 points, 2.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 40% from the field, 42% from the field, 39% from three. He's been a very positive three-point shooter, and 82% from the free throw line. But I think like the numbers, even if like the efficiency wasn't as good, and I think the efficiency is pretty good. Like he was good in November, he was good in January, he's been good in February, and you're going to get some good shooting nights, you're going to get some bad shooting nights. But when he is involved, just on both ends of the floor, he can change the game. And I think he's the type of player that every team needs. He doesn't need to play 30 minutes a night plus to be effective. 23 minutes a night might be perfect for Alvarado. Like if he maybe plays 30 minutes a night and he's taking more shots, his numbers might go down, the efficiency might go down, and he's not going to be as effective. But in this 25-ish minute sample size that you're going to get every single night, it is so big. He's averaged over a steal every single year of his career. He doesn't turn the ball over too much either. He's a good facilitator. I think he's actually got good court vision and isn't like your DeLon Wrights of the world or maybe somebody like that where, yeah, you know what, maybe they could be a score first, defensive first guy, but Alvarado can make the extra pass. And I just enjoy watching him play a ton. And I think New Orleans, they kind of have to re-sign him going forward. Like there is a chance. I mean, if you look at him like starting every night, and there could be some nights where CJ McCollum is kind of like the point guard, and I'm not even going to say like Alvarado's a true point guard, but when he's starting, he's out there with Zion, a good playmaker, CJ McCollum, a good playmaker. I think there's a chance that he's your starting point guard next year because DeJounte Murray isn't going to be ready by opening night with the torn Achilles. Not sure who they're going to end up with in the draft. Maybe if it's Dylan Harper or Kasperi or somebody like that, they could start at the point guard spot. But I think there's a good chance that Alvarado is going to play a decent amount of minutes throughout the rest of the year, which isn't obvious, and the start of next year with all their injuries. And I don't think they should let him go anywhere. I think they should actually look to re-sign him in the offseason because what matches up well with this timeline, $4.5 million in 2027. Maybe he opts in, gets extended, or opts out and gets extended. You're going to be getting him through the rest of his prime years as he's 26 years old, and the CJ McCollum contract is going to be off the books. So that's going to free up a little bit of money. Now you still have Murray getting paid, Zion getting paid, Trey Murphy's getting paid. Herb Jones might need a new extension eventually, but I think Alvarado brings intensity, he brings energy, he brings competitiveness, and that's what you need, especially if you're a team that is kind of sluggish. Like I was watching the Spurs game the other night, where they got off to an abysmal start. They might have been down like 23-8 or something. It's an Alvarado game when he can get the offense going. He can run up and down the floor. He can create havoc on the defensive end of the floor. And I guess he's in a smaller market in New Orleans. They've been a bad team this year. But I do think Alvarado has been a good player regardless. Next up, we have the man that has saved basketball, Aaron Wiggins. I'm not sure really where that originated from. I think it's just a bunch of Thunder fans on Twitter. I'll see like Cohen tweet that all the time. I get a chuckle out of it because Aaron Wiggins, right? Like second round pick out of Maryland back in the 2021 draft. I think he's like getting his flowers right now for how important he is to this OKC Thunder team. And he started kind of breaking out on the scene a little bit, even in his rookie year back in 2022, when the Thunder were still trying to figure out their identity as a team. And he's somebody that played meaningful minutes for them in the playoffs last year. Like he played 15 minutes a night against the Pelicans in round 1 and 16 minutes a night against the Dallas Mavericks in round number 2. He is 26 years old, like Alvarado, and he also was on like a sick rookie contract. Like if you can land these guys on like in the second round, especially how late he went, like $1 million in his rookie year on a two-way, 1.5 million in 23, last year 1.8 million, and then they've done this thing in OKC, and I've seen it in Houston with, I think Jason Tate did this, that GMs kind of reward like the second round talent that have been playing on well below market value contracts. Well, they're going to decline that fourth year, which I believe is what happened with Aaron Wiggins last offseason. He could have made like $1-2 million this year. They decline that, and then they ink you up on a very nice extension, but it also could be very team friendly. Maybe it didn't work out as much for like a Jason Tate, but they did it with Lou Dort, and that contract has been more than rewarding for OKC, as Wiggins is making $10 million this year, then it goes down. Like, that is crazy. They're paying them, like, this is why Sam Presti is, like, kind of a very smart dude when it comes to NBA contracts. $10 million this year, when the team is still saving money on Chet Holmgren and J-Dub's contract extensions not kicking in. You don't have to worry about the Shea Supermax yet. He's going to be making $7.9 million in 2029. When the salary cap goes up every year, that might be like 3%, maybe even less than that, of the team's total cap space. And he's going to be what? He's 26 now, he'll be 31 years old. I believe that he was a 3-year player, coming out of Maryland. And then there was always jokes, like in his rookie year, that is he going to be the best A. Wiggins in the NBA? I mean, he's not far off from Andrew Wiggins, the numbers he's putting up this year, in an offense that doesn't ask him to do too much, but I think that helps out his development a lot, where like Shea and J-Dub can orchestrate a ton of this offense, and Aaron Wiggins just knows his roles, knows when to cut. And I just trust him when he's like finishing at the rim. I think that's like a big part about him. Like, I trust him with big time threes, and I just trust him finishing at the rim. I think it always reminds me of like going back to when RJ Barrett was a young player for the Knicks, really struggled at finishing at the rim, could get to the rim very well. And that's why he was drafted high. And that was a great skill set of RJ Barrett, but he would struggle just finishing. And I don't know. I just trust Aaron Wiggins finishing at the rim. He's averaging 11 points this year. He's been super available, 3.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 50% from the field, 38% from three on 4 attempts a night, 86% from the free throw line, about attempt a night. And he's not like the best defender on this Thunder team that has how many good defenders, right? Between Caruso, Dort, Shea, J-Dub, incredible defenders on this team, Cason Wallace, Chet, and iHeart when they're healthy. And Aaron Wiggins holds his own on the defensive end of the floor. He's got good switchability. He can even be a stretch four in a pinch. And I just think when you're talking about impactful OKC players, Shea for like definitely deserving of either MVP or number 2 finish this year. You have J-Dub, who was an all-star. Chet, obviously everybody knows him. iHeart got paid in the offseason. Dort has been around for a while, so everybody kind of knows him. Cason Wallace was drafted highly. And I think just Aaron Wiggins has been better than Caruso this year. I guess like you can break down like who he's been better than on this other team. I mean, Caruso's been better defensively, but Caruso has been kind of lackluster offensively. And that contract could get interesting. But obviously he was never going to average as many points in like Chicago than he was going to do here. But yeah, you can make an argument that like Aaron Wiggins has been, I don't know, he's just been available like 58 games this year. He's not been better than J-Dub, but I think there's some nights where he impacts the game just as much as J-Dub does. I'd rather have J-Dub. J-Dub's a better player. He's been better this year, but I think it's closer than maybe the casual eye could think. So yeah, I wanted to give Aaron Wiggins his flowers, and I think he's been great this year. Next up, everybody's favorite player in Minnesota, not Anthony Edwards, Naz Reid. I don't know if Naz Reid is like underrated anymore, but he's about to be a free agent. And I think we just got to appreciate Naz Reid being 6'9", that can handle the ball so well. He may have the best 6'9" handle we have ever seen. And then especially for somebody that was undrafted. I always think like Naz Reid in my head is a second round pick, but he was undrafted. So shout out to just like the late picks. Like we talked about Alvarado, who was undrafted. We talked about Aaron Wiggins, who was like a bottom 5 pick in the draft. And then we have Naz Reid, who was an undrafted player and has just been getting better and better each year of his career. I don't know, he could win 6th man of the year this year. I know Peyton Pritchard and Malik Beasley are going to have a lot to say about that, but Naz Reid is putting up better numbers this year. He started 11 games, and he's averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists a night, shooting 40% from 3 for the 2nd straight year on 5 attempts a night, 47% from the field. There's been nights, like you could see over this last stretch, he has been incredible with the injuries to Randall and Gobert, and Naz Reid is stepping up. You want to talk about Aaron Wiggins saving basketball? Naz Reid could be saving Minnesota Timberwolves basketball. Over his last 10 games, he's averaging 21.5 points on 46, 34, 90 splits, 10 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.7 blocks. He's 6'9", but he plays very physical, can play up a little bit, and he just handles the ball like a guard. I think that's what makes like Ace Bailey so appealing at Rutgers, is because he's 6'10", and he has this smooth like handle for somebody of his size. Naz Reid makes it look too easy. There's a step back, crossovers, Euro steps, spin moves. Naz Reid is incredible, and he's going to get paid a lot of money this offseason. I think, like Minnesota, I forget off the top of my head if it was like Gershon Rosas or if it was Tim Connolly there that drafted him. But yeah, he signed that extension back at the end of the 23 season, played out that 4-year undrafted deal. Like, I don't know. Maybe actually if they were operating at the Thunder pace, they should have, I don't know, re-signed Naz Reid at the end of the 22 season. What did Naz Reid put up in 22? Naz Reid put up he put up 8 points, 48-34 splits. I'm like trying to remember Naz Reid in 2022. That was when Minnesota got eliminated in round 1 by Memphis, correct? I wonder what Naz Reid put up in that playoff series. I can actually see here. Did Naz Reid play much in that playoff series? He did. He played 10 minutes, didn't really do much. Did shoot 42% from 3. But like, if they were smart, you could have like re-signed Naz Reid. Oh my God, maybe Naz Reid was never going to accept this like Aaron Wiggins did, or like Lou Dort. But imagine you gave Naz Reid at the end of the 2022 season like a 5-year, $50 million contract. Oh my God. That would have been insane value for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I didn't really think about that. Now, some Timberwolves fan may tell me that could never have happened. Like he was always going to play out this deal. But he signed like that, 3-year extension in the 2023 offseason. Maybe you should never have given him that player option, because he's going to opt out of that and he's going to get a lot of money in the open market. I don't know how much money Naz Reid is going to get. I wonder what's like a good comparable contract. Like Tobias Harris just got 2 years for $50 million. I mean, the Nets are going to have cap space. Minnesota is going to want to re-sign him. The Pistons are going to have cap space. Naz Reid could get over $80 million a year. Oh my God. Sorry. Not over $80 million a year. $80 million total guaranteed in the offseason. And he's been incredible. And I think Minnesota, like, you're prioritizing Reid or Randall. It's Reid all the way. So I think I just want to give some more love to Naz Reid. Next up, maybe a controversial, underrated player. He's the best player we're going to talk about in this video. How about Jason Tatum? I think he's the pure definition of underrated. Now, Tatum is polarizing on a lot of levels. He plays for the Boston Celtics. They could be a hated team compared to the 29 other fan bases looking at them, just because either success or the fan base of Boston. Either way, he's going to have, I think, or he's going to be looked under a microscope playing for the Boston Celtics, one of the most historic franchises. But like, can we start putting Jason Tatum in better conversations? Look at his resume for somebody that is 26. We've talked about, have these all been 26-year-olds? Alvarado was 26. Wiggins was 26. Naz Reid is 25. I wonder if we have just all 26-year-olds. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, Jason Tatum, as a 26-year-old, 6-time All-Star, won a title last year, 4-time All-NBA. He did not win Rookie of the Year in 2018, because that would have went to Ben Simmons that year. He was an All-Star MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And yeah, there's a chance he can get another ring this year. he's been available. Like, he had some injuries in the 21 season, missed 8 games. I don't know. Like, Jason Tatum has been available as well, which I think we got to give him credit for, because like Jokic has been available, Shea has been available, which I want to give them credit for. But you look at Embiid, you look at maybe Kevin Durant, you look at Luka Doncic, you look at some of these guys like Anthony Davis that have been in top 10 conversations over the last few years that are not as available as Jason Tatum. He's a great two-way player. I think he's also one of the more underrated playmakers and passers in this league. He is averaging 5.8 assists this season, which is a career high. But if you look at Jason Tatum's numbers here in February, 7 assists a night. And I think if you even break it down a little bit more, like how many assists is Jason Tatum averaging over his like last 7 games? Like, he's been on a tear, and that's kind of like what made me want to do this. Maybe it's not as impressive as I think. But either way, I think Jason Tatum can do so much offensively. He can do so much defensively. And when he's hot, he can really get going. He can carry this offense. And I don't know if we're ever going to have to, I don't know. I think like Jason Tatum, like, he's not a top, I don't know, maybe he is going to be number 3 at the end of the year if they win a title. Because I don't know. No, I still think Giannis is better than Tatum. But so Tatum is like clearly number 4 or 5. It really depends, like between Tatum and Luka, I think, for that 4 spot. Because you'd probably say Shea is 3. I don't know. We're not really talking about that right now. But either way, I think Jason Tatum is underrated. He gets a lot of hate maybe because his personality isn't like super big. He's somebody that I think, I don't know if it's because he plays in Boston, how well this can gel. Is it crazy to say that if he wins like 2 more titles in the next 3 years, could he be the face of the NBA? Like, people like to say it's got to be an American star as the face of the NBA. I don't really know. Like, I don't really care for that, honestly. I can get the appeal to, like, younger kids growing up to Tatum or to somebody like LeBron, obviously, or Jordan or Kobe than, like, Jokic, just because there's some more similarities with you being in America. But Tatum, I mean, he's 26 years old. He's got a ring. He's been one of the best players in the NBA for, the last 7 years? And he's a two-way star. Like, he plays defense. He's available every night. He plays in a big market. I'm not a Celtics fan whatsoever. I hate the Celtics. They were the bane of my existence growing up as a Knicks fan. Dominated us all the time. And I had some Celtics friends that were just so annoying. And I think there's a lot of annoying Celtics fans out there. 100%. And that's just Boston in general. Like, you'd go into Philly or New York or LA. But man, Tatum, I think, deserves a little bit more credit. I do. And I think maybe he's somebody that when he's like gone or he ages, I don't know, that people will give him a little bit more credit for. I think Tatum is going to be the only guy in this video that I talk about in this conversation, more so like he's well respected because he's done a lot. He plays in a big market. He's young. I don't know. I just think Jason Tatum deserves a little bit more respect for what he's done so far and how good of a player he really is. Now, I don't think he's the best player in the NBA. I don't think he's ever been the best player in the NBA. And I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to be the best player in the NBA, which maybe makes him never going to be the face of the NBA. But he's going to have a damn good resume when it's all said and done. And maybe he's going to be like this generation's Tim Duncan. So let's go over to another 2nd round pick, Toumani Camara. I think he's getting his flowers this year, and I think Toumani Camara deserved a little bit more respect last year for the Portland Trail Blazers. And I just find it hilarious that you look back at the Damian Lillard trades, right? Now, there's some picks that could become better players than Toumani, but out of all the players they got in the Nurkic or Dame deal, when you talk about DeAndre Ayton, you talk about Malcolm Brogdon, you talk about Robert Williams, because you can include the Drew Holiday trade in that as well. I think that might be it player-wise. Let me see here, because I have the trade up. Yeah, like Keon Johnson, Nasir Little, both went to the Suns. Yeah, like those player-wise, like the best player was the 52nd overall pick out of Dayton. Yeah, Toumani Camara, one of the best wing defenders in the league this year. 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals, 45, 36, 76 splits. He's efficient at all levels. He's started 57 games for them. He's been available, and he gives 110% every night. And this is just like, some guys work out, some guys don't. I think you look at like, I don't know, like Tyler Bay, for an example, coming out of Colorado. You look at these like lanky wings that you think could be switchable, that could just be in that 3-and-D role that everybody wants to get in the 2nd round. Some don't work out. But Toumani Camara worked out. And I didn't really think he was going to be much coming out of Dayton. And man, has he proved basically everybody wrong and 51 pick decisions wrong, as he's been incredible for this team. And when you look at the lineup out there of Scoot, Sharp, Denny, or Toumani, Denny, and Klingon, it's fun. It's really fun to watch. And I think it's been the most entertaining Blazers basketball I have watched in a while. Like, the Blazers this year have been very respectable, as I think, leapfrog the Spurs in the standings. Yeah, they're 26-33. They're a team that's 23rd in defensive rating, 24th in offensive rating. Like, they're not a good team statistically by any means, but there was a chance they could have ended up as the 15th seed this year. I think this stretch has maybe earned Chauncey Billups like another year. Maybe he could have got let go at the year. I don't know if that's going to like happen anymore. I just don't really want to see DeAndre Ayton on this team. I think they should sell. I think they should trade away Simons in the offseason. If they can move Williams, it doesn't matter. I just want to see Clingan start. Whoever wants to back him up. They have at least one first-round pick in this draft. The Blazers are going in a good direction. I think Toumani Camara is going to be a person that's going to be built for this team. Now, he's making $1.8 million this year, $2.2 next year, $2.4 million in 27. If he has a very similar year next year as he is this year, I think they should do what we've seen Sam Presti do, and they should lock him up, 4-year deal, $50 million, and that's going to be a perfect price for Camara, who plays defense. And that's what Portland needed this year. So, yeah, that is player number 5. Player number 6 is going to be Austin Reaves. Now, you might not think he's underrated. It's really tough to say that any Lakers player is underrated. I think it's more so that Lakers fans overrate him. So I think the rest of the NBA kind of has to underrate him. So I'm just going to maybe talk about this outside the Lakers bubble, because Austin Reaves, pre-Luka Doncic and so far with Luka Doncic, has really elevated his game this year. I think last year was a little bit disappointing for Reaves because he was good. He was objectively good. But I think when you look at what he did in 2023, breaking out on the scene, was an amazing undrafted player out of Arkansas in that 2021 draft. Out of Oklahoma. He's from Arkansas. I think you thought maybe he could take another leap last year, which happened, but didn't happen, I think, to the extent that we thought it was going to be. But this year, man, has been incredible, because 2023, he was great in the playoffs for the Lakers. But this year, he's averaging 19 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 44% from the field, 36 from 3, 86% from the free throw line. I'm not sure if the assist numbers are going to continue to go up, but man, Austin Reaves' playmaking this year, I think, is elevated from watching him last year. And he has been like we watch and we appreciate LeBron every night, but Reaves has been one of my favorite players to watch when I'm tuning into the Lakers, especially when he is going, because you look at his assist numbers. He was averaging 8 assists in December, 6 or about 7 in January, 6 right now. I think he's just been getting better and better. The true shooting has been around 60% or even better all year long. And him and Luka are just going to be so much fun to watch. I think when they traded for Luka, everybody's like, oh, is there going to be an Austin Reaves trade? Another undrafted player. It's funny. Like, I talked about all undrafted or late second round picks, and then Jason Tatum, who was the 3rd overall pick. But we got some first rounders that we'll talk about next. But Reaves' contract, like 12.9, 13.9 in 26, and then $15 million player option in 2027, which we all think he's going to opt out of. I'm surprised, like, the Spurs weren't going hard for him in that 2023 offseason, but hey, hindsight's 2020. Maybe they couldn't even have pulled that off. But yeah, he's going to get a nice extension from the Lakers. Going back to my point of like, all right, they get Luka. Do they need an Austin Reaves? Yeah, I think they do, because LeBron, I don't think he's going to play for at least more than 2 more years, right? I'll just say that, which I could be wrong. But either way, Reaves at 26 years old is a perfect player to have for Luka Doncic, who maybe he's going to be banged up at times, and Reaves, or even if Luka is just not going that night, or he's going to be on the bench, Austin Reaves is the perfect complementary playmaker that Luka had in Dallas with Kyrie. Reaves is not as good as Kyrie, but man, is he effective as a playmaker for this team. And he has gotten better and better. The confidence, finishing at the rim, the ball handle, just the navigating pick and rolls and ball screens. Oh my God, man. Austin Reaves, he's a very aesthetic player to watch, I think, in this league. Just like his overall game. It's very enjoyable, and I think Austin Reaves deserves some more love. So next up, I got Jaren Jackson Jr., probably the second best player we're going to talk about in this outside of Jason Tatum. Pretty sure we all got to be prepared for Jaren Jackson Jr. to be making a lot of money. I think he's going to get the Supermax at the end of the year, because right now I would have him as my defensive player of the year. Now, it might go to Evan Mobley. It wasn't going to go to Triple J before Wemby was out for the year, but now Wemby isn't going to hit that 65-game threshold. Jaren Jackson Jr. has kind of emerged as the top guy in this Memphis Grizzlies offense. This year, he's averaging 23 points, which is a career high, 22.9, 6 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 3 stocks a night, about 50% from the field, 36% from 3, and about 77% from the line. And I know Triple J has had some more efficient years earlier in his career. Last year, we saw an increase in volume because of all the injuries they had, and he played 66 games and was one of the more healthy players. This year, he's been available for Memphis with all the injuries still they've had on their team, to like Bane missing some time and John missing some time this year. He's played 56 games. His volume is up or around the same from last year, and the efficiency is up. And I think he has done very well as being the top guy in this Memphis Grizzlies offense. The offense is now orchestrated around Triple J rather than John Morant. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be a thing next year as well, and maybe this is just like ramping up Ja again, and then he's going to be the vocal point of the offense. But I feel like over the last few weeks, it's been Triple J's offense. He was an all-star this year. Or no, was he an all-star this year? Yeah, he was an all-star this year. And he's someone that is shooting 36 from 3. He's a top defender in the sport. I would still like for him to cut down on the fouls a little bit. Like, he's always been in foul trouble. Like, you look at his 2020 season, 4.1 fouls a night, and that allows him to only play around 30 minutes a game. But man, those 30 minutes are super effective. And I think he's emerging himself to being a top 30, 25 player in the league. This year, he's been a top 24 player in the league. And because of the All-Star game, that's why I used 24. But I think Triple J, he wins Depoy. He's going to get that Supermax. Is he going to be a Supermax eligible player? We're going to have to wait and see. But hey, if he's hitting his ceiling in his prime as someone that's 6'10", that can handle the ball like a guard, that can score in the post, that can knock down threes, that can be a top 3 defender in the sport every single year, that like his ceiling could be a top 10 player in the league. I don't know if he's ever going to hit that, but I think they're going to be a consistent stretch when we're in his like full prime where he's a top 15 player every year. I guess it's really depending on what John Morant's involvement of this offense is going to be. Next up, we got Malik Beasley, a former 19th overall pick all the way back in 2016 and has been on a plethora of teams in his career. Started in Denver, went to Minnesota, went to Utah, went to LA, last year in Milwaukee. And I remember tweeting in the offseason, I don't know, Bucks fans maybe were just like upset with me in the offseason, that everybody in the East kind of got better, and the Bucks, all they did was let go of Malik Beasley. And I think at this time, I think they added DeLon Wright. I don't think they added Gary Trent Jr. yet. And everybody was like, Matt, Malik Beasley, it's better. Like, we got better now that we no longer have Malik Beasley. And I said, you know what? Malik Beasley's defense last year wasn't the best. I will admit that. And I don't know, maybe give him another year in the system, because this year for Detroit, he has been one of the best storylines. And Detroit as a whole this year has been one of the best storylines with JB Bickerstaff, Trent Langdon coming over, changing this team, Asar Thompson taking a step this year. I think Ron Holland showing promise as a rookie. Cade Cunningham might end up an All-NBA first team this year. There are so many cool storylines about the Pistons, and I think Malik Beasley has been one of the best ones. And I don't think they're as good this year without Malik Beasley averaging 17 points, about 3 rebounds, 2 assists, but 42% from 3, and has just been one of the best 6-man or bench players in the NBA. I would give him 6-man of the year right now. And he, like that game against the Boston Celtics, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, a team that kind of just dominated the Knicks for like, I don't know, you could say for about 40 of the 48 minutes the other night. They beat him by 20. Now, it was on a back-to-back for Boston. But man, 26 points. I feel like at sometimes he's like 2016 Curry this year. And what was it, 1 year, $6 million. This has been one of the best signings. And yeah, November, 17 points, 18 points per game in December. January, he averaged 15 points. And in the month of February, it's 11-game sample size, 51-49 splits. I don't know why he can't hit free throws, and you could shoot 49% from 3. But either way, Malik Beasley has been one of the best storylines this year. And then we got 2 more players. Josh Giddey is going to be one of them. Josh Giddey, I think, like, there was all the off-the-court stuff with Josh Giddey that people maybe, like, didn't like him that much in OKC anymore. And I still think OKC is completely fine with this trade, and so is Chicago. I said that it was a win-win trade for both teams in the offseason, and I still stand by that. Giddey is, I think, maybe a more valuable player than Caruso in a way, just because he's younger. He probably has a higher ceiling as a higher usage offensive guy, but what for OKC is building, Caruso is so much of a better fit. And for most teams that are kind of eyeing for a championship, you'd rather have Caruso than Josh Giddey if it's going to be like your 5th or 6th most important guy, right? Because you don't really need Giddey's shot creation, like initiating when you have Shea and J-Dub on your team. So Caruso, better fit in OKC. But man, Giddey over the last couple weeks has been incredible for this Bulls team. In the month of February, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists per game. And I think we can maybe even go back to the sample size in January for Josh Giddey. Like, you look at Josh Giddey since January 20th, so even larger sample size of 16 games, 17.5 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 51% from the field. Giddey got off to a great 3-point shooting start this season, and then there was a rough patch. 50% from 3, 83% from the line. I think there was a chance that like Chicago just may not even give him the qualifying offer, or there was going to be a signing trade in the offseason. I don't know how much money Giddey is earning himself right now, but I think he's earning himself at least another Bulls contract. Like, if I'm the Bulls and I could give Josh Giddey 3 years, $60 million, I would probably do that. You're going to be bad anyway. And I think Giddey can make everybody around you better, even though your team might not be better. So, like, I'm saying, like, if you're going to be losing a lot of games, I'd at least want Josh Giddey, who's not going to take 20 shots a night. He's going to take 10 shots a night, but he's going to be a good playmaker. He can operate the pick and roll. Say you draft a Kaman Maluach or a Derek Queen or one of the top bigs in this draft, Giddey could be such a good, he's not a veteran point guard, but an experienced point guard to help develop that big man around him, knows where that big man needs to be. Giddey can see the floor extremely well. And that can help the development of a rookie, especially Matas Buzelis, who had a bad game the other night. But before that, like, it was against the Clippers. I mean, a lot of people have bad nights against the Clippers. You look at his, I think it was like a 12-game stretch. Basically, like, since the trade deadline, Matas has really come into his own as a good scorer at the wing position. And he's still incredibly raw. Like, he played last year in a terrible environment in the G League Ignite after being one of the top high school players in the whole country, and the best player coming out of Illinois. And he's averaging 13.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 52, 36, 82 splits. Not bad defense over that 11-game stretch. And I know Josh Giddey isn't a good defender, but I think you're willing to sacrifice that. I think if I was running the Bulls this offseason, I would extend Josh Giddey. I would look to see the market for Ayo Dosunmu or Kobe White. I would. And obviously get Vucevic off the team. And I'd let Josh Giddey, I mean, he's 22 years old. I don't think he's going to develop great offensive skill set. And I don't know, he's shooting 38% from 3 on the season, which is the best of his career by far. If Giddey can actually be high 30s from 3 over the course of the year, even with the rough stretches, and it's going to be inconsistent, but if you can just get to that 38%, I think it's good enough. And then you add like a good defensive minded too, and that's why, like, maybe you keep Dosunmu, maybe you keep Kobe White, but I think like you can sell their value very high in the offseason and you rebuild. But I think Giddey can help you get out of the rebuild and help the players that you're going to be bringing in the 25, 26, 27 drafts around them. So that's the second to last player. And the last player is Max Christie. I think Max Christie is going to go a little bit, I don't know, under the radar because in that massive trade, he was the third most important guy because of Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic. But ever since Max Christie has gone to Dallas, he has been incredible. It's a 9-game sample size, so I don't want to overreact to it too much, but 14.5 points, 4.4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 47% from the field on 10 shots a night, by far a career high in just this 9-game sample size, 33 minutes a night as well, 44% from 3 on 5 attempts a night, 84% from the free throw line. Max Christie, like, this is the Max Christie the Lakers extended in the offseason, and I'm sure it pained them to give up Christie. I doubt there was a scenario where they could have traded Dalton Connect and some other roster filler, like Dalton Connect and Gabe Vincent instead of Max Christie. I mean, we'll never know that, but man, Max Christie, under this contract he got in the offseason, the way he's been playing for Dallas, I know you don't have Luka Doncic anymore, so I'm not going to say, oh, this was a great idea to get Max Christie. It cost you Luka, so it wasn't. But $7 million, about $8 million on average for the next 3 years, like he's going to opt out in 28, is going to be good value for this team. And I think this is good for Max Christie's confidence. So sometimes when there's a ton of injuries and young guys need to play a little bit more, shoot a little bit more, I think it's a blessing in disguise in a way to get their confidence up, find like where they need to be on the floor, get to new spots, and just be in a role that they weren't going to be in if these injuries happened. I think it was good for like G.G. Jackson's development last year. I think it was good for Miles McBride at times when the Knicks had injuries to like have more confidence, get more shots, and then these guys could be impactful players in the playoffs down the line. We even saw that with Caruso in LA. And Max Christie is really taking advantage of all the injuries Dallas has had between Gafford, Lively, AD, PJ Washington. Everyone's been hurt on this team. And Max Christie is going to be a very important player if the Mavericks can make it to the playoffs this year. And I think might go a little bit more underrated now that he was in this massive trade. But I don't know. You guys can let me know if these players were underrated in your eyes. Do you think they're overrated? Like, we could disagree on that for sure. And I think it's just players that I wanted to talk about for a little bit, to spend 3 or 4 minutes on each player. So we talked about Max Christie, Josh Giddey, Malik Beasley, Jaren Jackson Jr., Austin Reaves, Toumani Camara, Jason Tatum, Naz Reid, Aaron Wiggins, and Jose Alvarado. If you guys did enjoy this, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a rating and review on Spotify. It can go a long way, and I appreciate it a ton. And let me know if you're on YouTube, in the YouTube comments, or Spotify in the Spotify comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or maybe give me an underrated player that you think I should have mentioned. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.